Hi, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video where I'm just going to be coloring an image from one of Simon Says Stamp's past card kits, and this one's a cute little snowman. And I'll be using a combination of Artist Loft markers as well as Copic sketch markers. And for his nose, you could see that I used one of each. And for his hat, I actually go in with my darker tone is an Artist Loft marker. My mid-tone is a Copic sketch marker. And then for the lighter tone, I actually come back with a different Artist Loft marker. That's hard to say. And for the pom-pom on his hat, I actually end up using just two colors because it's a small space and I didn't really feel like blending out that many colors. And so I just start with the mid-tone and then I go in with the lighter tone, but you'll see here in a second that I ended up doing tip-to-tip coloring because I didn't like how harsh the gradient was. So doing a little tip-to-tip coloring actually brings together the colors so that they blend together a little bit nicer. For the fur on his mittens, I actually use the same technique where I go in with two colors because it's such a small space. And I do the dark color in the mid-tone. For his actual mittens, you can see here, use the mid-tone as well as the lighter tone. And I'm sorry I don't actually have the names of each color listed on my screen. This is my first video. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm hoping to learn soon. So for the main part of his hat, I decide to do you'll forgive my thumbnail, it's just hideous right here. So great view of my thumb. I just color straight across because I didn't really want to spend the time coloring each panel. And I do my best to try and keep my fingers out of the frame, but they kind of just sneak in there from time to time. So I'm sorry. And then I color it straight across. So I use a combination of two Copic sketch markers, as you saw, and then one Artist Loft marker, and in their blue-green combinations, as you saw earlier. So for his scarf, I continue the trend, and I decide to color each panel individually. And for every other panel, I do the darker tone with the mid-tone. And then for the lighter panels, I color it the entire panel with a light tone first, or the lightest color. And then that's just to wet the paper. And I decided to do it that way because the lighter color, for some reason, this BG13 for Artist Lofts, I don't know if it's my marker or all of these markers, but it doesn't seem to want to blend out very easily when it's just on the dry paper. So I try to go in and I wet the paper by putting down the lightest color, and then that'll make that'll make it a lot easier to blend out. And then I just go back in with the lighter color. So the last part that you saw, I was just adding a little bit of shading with the mid-tone across that top part of that scarf, just to show that there's a little bit of shading. And then I added some R20 for his cheeks to give him a little bit of a rosy color. So I went in with one of the Artist Loft color markers to start shading across his forehead, but then I realized I didn't like the way that looked, and I never used those markers to color in my snowman. So I blended it out with the colorless blender, and then I went back in with B60 for the Copic sketch, and I just liked this look a lot better. And I ended up blending it out again with the colorless blender, because as you see it right now, in person, it was really harsh. And so I just wanted to kind of finesse the lines a little bit easier. Actually, I do go in with the colorless blender right now, but after I finished recording, I went back and I added some gray over the B60 just to really darken it up a little bit. And then I added a little bit more gray to his scarf just to really bring out those shadows. So now I'm going in and adding highlights. Sorry, you can hear my audio, and I tried to cut it out so you wouldn't have to hear it, but I'm going in with some highlights with my Jelly Roll pen, and there's really no rhyme or reason. I'm just getting it to points where I just feel like the light might touch the image. And in some places you could see that I get it wrong, but I just like to do it as a finishing touch. And that's the pen I used, 0.08, and there you have it. Thank you for joining me on this video, and join me next time.